What is up, my fellow Chibis? It's been a while since I sat down and did a Magi chapter review. It's been about a month now, because as we know, the manga was on break, and we were getting ready for the beginning of the final arc of the series. Now, we know how shonen usually is when it comes to the final arc. I mean, there's a lot of examples currently right now, but when it comes to Magi, when there is an arc, usually it's not that long. At the maximum an arc of Magi usually is probably about 20, maybe 30 chapters. Maybe at the maximum it could possibly be 50 chapters. So I really do wonder how long this final arc of Magi is really going to last, since there is a lot of setup with this chapter. Like, a huge amount of info dumping with this chapter. Like, holy shit, a lot has changed. So let's just start off with the basics. As we know from the beginning of the chapter, is that there has been a time skip, which we all knew there was going to be some form of time skip, but with this, we come to find out there has been a 3-year time skip. So 3 years have passed since the death of Alibaba, and now that he's back in his body, which has been preserved, he is now trying to regain the life back into his body, because since his body hasn't moved for so long, it's been a state of near death, it really can't walk around, do anything of its normal actions, so Alibaba has to stay around for probably a good couple months, weeks, or whatever, trying to get back to the routine with his body for it could function properly, and he doesn't probably need a helping hand to walk around. So that task is left up to Yunnan to help him out throughout this chapter, while giving us the information we need to know for this final arc. So what has changed? Well, for one thing, the entire world has been united into one, under one currency, and there is no definite king over the entire world. There now is a board of directors, and thinking about the board of directors, I'm like, this sounds really high class for this type of series. I mean, Magi does have some high class things, but I mean, holy shit, finding out about a board of directors makes me think of like a futuristic type series, like, you know, a mech, you know, sci-fi, stuff like that. That's exactly what that reminds me of when I hear of a board of directors, and I'm like, whoa, just Magi has made some huge progression with its world in just 3 years. I mean, imagine under this rule in about 6 years, 6 to 10 years, what they could possibly accomplish under this type of rule. But also, we come to find out that there has been more progression when it comes to slave trading. Slave trading is completely gone. You can no longer own a slave, so that is completely gone, which actually makes the rule, like this entire rule under a board of directors, or like no real king, a lot better than what the previous world was in. So there's already huge improvements. Alongside of that, since the entire world is united, the borders between each individual country has been taken down. Because let's think about how countries work. And actually, I could take examples from real-life countries. Let's look at, let's say, you know, how there's different countries over off in the world, like Japan, China, Korea, and all that. Like, usually, you can't just cross borders. And you know how America, Canada, and Mexico, you can't just, you know, cross borders and you can be fine with that. You need to go through legal, you know, papers and legal channels to be able to cross certain said borders. And to see how all borders have been taken down since the world is united, it allows trade to grow. Trade can now make so much more money than what they did in the past, because they don't need to go through legal mumbo jumbo to be able to go across and kind of sell to another country. So this makes it to where traders are now getting some really good money. And I mean, if Lawrence was in this series and with Holo, they'd be banking on that damn money because of how the trading probably works in this series now, since it's just one currency. It works under all of one currency. There's no multiple currencies, just one unified currency, which makes it to where if you have this said piece of paper, you can go to any part of the world and get that said thing and not having to worry about exchanging your money for something else. So that shows you progression in society, and I have to compliment Magi for this fact on just that alone, for allowing this political progression. There's not many mangaka in shonen I have seen tackle this type of formula with politics and economics like this from what I have seen from Magi. Not just from this chapter, but from the entirety of the series. And seeing how, once again, we're getting examples of how what Sinbad was wanting to accomplish with unifying the entire world, it's not really that bad. I mean, the picture that we have been painted with this chapter, it doesn't look bad. I mean, I really don't see anything personally wrong with this. The only thing I see wrong at this time is metal vessel users. For instance, people that have metal vessels, if they disappear, they become a criminal. And we found out about that because Hakuto, he's up and missing, and he's no longer on the throne. And also you have to where Aladdin and more, she's no longer around either, and they're off missing and nobody knows where they're at. So I mean, there's a lot of questions. We don't know where our main iconic characters and cast of characters are after this chapter, but I'm willing to bet that, you know, Alibaba's probably going to go on a quest to try to find and figure out where they are, and, you know, meet up together again, and then try to figure out and make whatever's going on here. Because for Aladdin to disappear and more, and then Hakuto, something must have happened. Something must have happened for them to disappear and go under the radar. Now they're criminals. I mean, why would they go out of their way to make themselves criminals and disappear like that? Because, I mean, if metal vessels are being used as like some form of war effort or under watch supervision, that means that why would you want to run away? Unless there's something else going on here that we don't know the full picture of, which I'm willing to bet that's probably it, because, I mean, look at the aftermath at the final chapter of the last arc. I mean, the last chapter, that's the best way to clarify. The last chapter ends off with a huge cliffhanger with Sinbad, and we know some shit's going down. So it makes you wonder, is Sinbad really evil? Is he good? Is he exactly the entirety? Like, does he have David half inside of him? Since he is half fallen, does he have David inside of him, or is really what Sinbad said, is he his own person to where he will try to do good to the world? There's many questions I have, and there needs to be a lot of explanations, but for now, this chapter was pretty damn good and exciting just to see how this arc was setting up. A very grand start to the final arc of this series, and if it can end in a grand way, just how this started this arc was, I will be completely satisfied with this series. So tell me your thoughts. I mean, how do you all feel about the start of this final arc? How do you all feel about what happened? How do you feel about how Yunnan was acting towards Sinbad when he was talking about him? Like how he's not a bad person. Very suspicious things going on there. And how do you also feel about, you know, the board of directors and how it works now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night. And tell me also, one last thing, how do you feel about Alibaba's character design? The character design looks fucking badass. Big fan of that character design. So that's about it. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.